All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the poker vlog. It is Monday, September the 23rd, and we, as you could probably tell from the intro, are not in Las Vegas. We are in Round Rock, Texas, just north of Austin, Texas, about to go jump into a session at the Lodge, which is just about a mile down the road from me here. So we're going to get into it. We're on the list for 1-2 at the Lodge. It's a $500 cap, $500 max buy-in for 1-2. So you get to play a little bit deep. And we can also potentially jump into the 1-3 streets, which is a $1,500 cap. You get to play really deep at 1-3. So the plan for today is to start at 1-2, see how we do at the 1-2 table, and then maybe later tonight or early tomorrow morning, depending on how long we play, jump into the 1-3 streets. So I will see you guys at the Lodge. Sitting down at a brand new 1-2 table, we look down at Queen 10 offsuit, see a player from the under the gun +1 spot put in the limp. Action folds to me and I go ahead and raise it up to 15, trying to isolate with this player in the under the gun +1 spot, and that is indeed what happens when he puts in the call. And off to a flop we go. A flop that gives us top pair with a straight draw, 10, 9, 8 with 2 diamonds. Under the gun +1 checks. I'm going to go ahead and fire out a mandatory continuation bet here, trying to get value from all of his flush draws, all of his straight draws, and all of his worst top pair or 1 pair holdings. And he quickly puts in the call, so we are going off to a turn that doesn't change anything. It is a deuce. Complete brick, so he checks for a second time, and I think we have the green light to continue to bet for value here. I make it 55 to go, and the action is back over to the under the gun +1 player, who starts to think about his decision, counting out his chips, thinking about whether or not he wants to commit more money in this pot. He does. He wants to commit more money. He wants to put more money in the middle here and see a river card. He slides out the chips over the bet line, and off to a river we go. A river which is a king, which really shouldn't change too much unless he has exactly king 10 or maybe king 9 in this spot. So when he checks for a third time, I think I should be betting here again for value, but I go ahead and get passive and check, and he turns over ace 10 offsuit for a better 1 pair hand than we had, and we lose this first pot here. An unfortunate turnout, but not to worry. We've got plenty of poker left here to play, and maybe we can turn this around in future hands. Let's see what we can get done. In this one, we are on the button, and we pick up the hand that apparently no one can play correctly, pocket jacks. We see a raise from an under the gun player. He makes it 12 to go. Middle position player who has been playing a lot of hands and winning most of them, I might add, puts in the call in the field, and the cutoff raises it. He makes it 30 to go. Pretty small 3-bet sizing with a raise and a caller in the field. I would think he would size up here, but sometimes players like to make these small 3-bet sizes with aces and kings, just trying to get action. I fall prey to the trap and put in the call in position here. This invites the under the gun player along. He puts in the call as well. And the middle position player, who doesn't seem to like to fold ever, of course, is going to be putting in the call. So we're going to go 4 ways to a flop here in a 3-bet pot. Welcome to Texas poker. This is Texas heads up, ladies and gentlemen. 4 ways to a flop of
queen 5-5 rainbow. Not exactly the board that I was hoping to see. So when the under the gun player checks and the middle position player checks and the cutoff pretty quickly fires a $100 bet, this screams either ace king or aces or kings that just do not want to see additional cards, or they want to charge for additional cards. I don't know. I might have the best hand here. I might be folding the best hand, but I ultimately just let this one go. Under the gun folds, and the middle position player folds as well, so the cutoff takes this one down. We pick up a little baby suited connector here in the hijack, 6-5 of spades. We see the player from under the gun put in the $2 call. Action folds to me, and I go ahead and raise this up to 15, trying to isolate with the player who limped. This is the same player that we got involved with the queen 10 offsuit hand, who limp called with ace 10 offsuit. The button puts in the call, and the under the gun player puts in the call as well. So 3 ways here to a flop. It does give us a pair, jack 5-4 rainbow. So we've got a pair of fives, and we've got a backdoor flush draw. So when the under the gun player checks, I go ahead and put in the continuation bet here. I make it 20 to go. And this is going to get the job done as the button folds and the under the gun player folds as well. So our pair plus backdoor flush draw plus 2-pair draw is enough to get the job done here in this spot in the hijack. Slightly downgraded in this hand, we pick up pocket tens. We're in the hijack. We see an under the gun raise. He makes it 12 to go, and an under the gun +1 player puts in the $12 call. Low jack puts in the $12 call as well, and the action is back over to me. With a raise from early position and 2 callers in the field, a hand like pocket tens, I think, wants to go for the 3-bet, try to isolate and get heads up with one of these opponents. So I bump it up and I size up to 75 US dollars here. The under the gun player is thinking about his option and counting out his calling chips. I'm pretty certain that he's going to be putting in the call. And he does indeed go ahead and put in the chips. So he's going to be coming along for the ride. And of course, once he calls, the player in the under the gun +1 spot, he's thinking I'm getting a pretty damn good price here to call as well and see a flop. So he's going to be putting in the call. And you know the low jack's not going to be folding once he sees 2 calls here. There's too much money in the middle. He's going to be coming along for the ride. We're going to go 4 ways once again in a 3-bet pot. 4 ways to a flop in position. Welcome to Texas Heads Up. Going 4 ways to a flop here in an already bloated pot, we're going to need to hit some cards and make some magic happen if we're to have any chance of winning here, because our equity is going to be substantially diluted in a 4-way situation. So what have you got in store for us, dealer? Can we hit a set one time? No, we cannot. It is king 6-5 rainbow. The under the gun player checks, under the gun +1 checks, and now it is over to me after the low jack checks. And I decide I'm going to go ahead and continue telling my story here. I can represent ace king, I can represent aces, I can represent hands like king queen suited. You get the idea. I can represent a lot of strong hands here. So I fire out here for $80 on this flop. This gets the under the gun player out of the way. He goes ahead and pretty quickly releases his cards and folds. Now the action is over to the under the gun +1 player, who does not release his cards. He starts immediately counting out the calling chips. And I'm thinking he probably has a king here when he puts in the call on this board. Low jack folds, and we are going to go heads up now to a turn card. Turn is a 6. It pairs the board, and it brings in a backdoor flush, and the under the gun +1 player checks it over to me for a second time. When the under the gun +1 player checks it over to me for a second time here on the turn, I'm putting him primarily on just a king. I think he's going to have a weak king for the most part. He's probably going to have maybe king 10, possibly king jack would be the strongest king that I think he would show up with here. So I'm thinking about maximizing my fold equity here on the turn and what the best approach would be to get that job done and try to get him off of his weak king holdings. And I decide that I'm going to be going for it here. I'm going to be turning my pocket tens into a bluff. I go ahead and rip it all in here on the turn, trying to maximize my fold equity against all of his one pair hands. It's $261 bet, and looking back at this, I don't love it. I think the pot was around 450 or 460 when I made this bet. So with our bet and the size of the pot, he's getting an insane price to call. He hems and haws and says, I guess I'm calling to chop. He's looking at his cards, and when he says that, I know immediately he's got ace king, and we're probably sunk. He does make the call. He does turn over ace king offsuit. We're going to 2 river cards, neither of which improve me. They are both bricks, and he is going to win this pot. Turning our hand into a bluff did not work out for us here in this spot. Not sure if it was a really good bluff or if I was just punting my chips over to our opponent in this spot. Our read was correct. He did have a one pair hand. I think he just happened to have the one pair hand that he wasn't going to be folding. Hard to put him on ace king in that spot. I mean, he just called pre-flop and then double called my 3-bet with ace king offsuit out of position. Pretty weird to do with a very strong hand like ace king, but that is indeed what he did, and we end up rebuying here for another $500 US to continue to go to battle with these folks here at this 1-2 table. If you guys like seeing me punt off my stack like this, please do hit that like button. Consider subscribing to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss future punts.
In this next hand, we pick up Queen 10 of clubs. We are in the under the gun spot, and I think this one is worthy of a raise, even in early position. I go ahead and make it 12 to go. Folds to a player in middle position who puts in the call. Player in the low jack puts in the 3-bet, but it's a small 3-bet. He makes it 30 to go. I'm in no mood to fold after losing a big pot with our pocket 10s and potentially punting off a bunch of chips. I'm in the mood to punt more chips, so I'm going to put in the call here as well. 2/5 of a royal flush. What could go wrong? Put the money in the middle is what I say in this spot. So I go ahead and stick in the call after everyone else folds. Action is over to the player in middle position, who now is getting an insane price to call as well. And he does just that. He sticks the money in the middle. Once again, we are Texas heads up in a 3-bet pot. 3 ways to a flop. A flop that doesn't really help us too much, to say the least. We see ace, 8, 7, rainbow. We've got some backdoor straight draw possibilities going on, but that's really about it. So I start things off with a check. Middle position player checks and low jack checks around. So we're going to go 3 ways to a turn. Turn that's a 9. So now we pick up that backdoor straight draw. I think I could start betting here after it checks around, but I don't. I go ahead and check it. Middle position player takes the betting lead and leads out here for 50. Player in the low jack spot thinks about it for a bit, is in the tank a little bit here, but ultimately he ends up letting it go, and I let it go as well, and we end up losing this one. On to the next hand. This next one is a $5 double board PLO bomb pot. We look down at ace 10, 9, 4 with 1 suit. Not really a great starting hand in PLO. Nothing that dreams are made of, that's for sure. So when we see top 2 on the 1 board and we see basically nothing on the other board, I think we need to start betting and building a pot here, trying to potentially build this up so we can get folks off of some chops, because we want to try to win this one outright if possible, especially if we improve on the 1 board. And I end up getting 3 callers. So we end up going 4 ways here to a couple of turn cards. They both improve us. We get a full house on the 1 board, and we end up turning the nut flush draw on the other board. So we're on our way to being nutted on both boards, which is an ideal situation in a double board PLO bomb pot. Better yet, the player first to act takes the betting lead here on these turn cards. He starts things off with a $30 bet, a very small bet considering the size of the pot. But both players in middle position fold and let their cards go, and the action is back over to me. And I could get on board with raising here, but this seems like a blocker bet, like maybe he turned a draw on the 1 board and he's just trying to set his price to see if he can connect with his draw. And I want him to definitely bet on the river if he connects with the flush, so I just put in the call. off to 2 rivers. The first river doesn't change anything. We still have the best full house available on that board. The other board, though, gives us the nut flush with the ace of diamonds. So I think when he bets here on the river, he's probably got a flush, which leads me to go pot on this river, which I think is a bit of a mistake. I think I should be betting maybe 175 after he bets $30 on the river. He's probably got a weak-ish flush if he has a flush, especially betting a small sizing like that. I don't think he's going to have the king of diamonds or he's going to have the queen of diamonds. He's probably got a little bit of a weaker flush, and I think it would be harder for him to fold if I had made it a small sizing. Going pot here made it 290, puts him into the tank. He turns over his cards and he shows like the 6 of diamonds. So a baby flush is what it looks like he has here, and he ends up just folding his cards in disgust. And we end up taking this one down. I'm not going to complain. We got quite a bit of value there, but I think we went a little too large on the river and ended up costing ourselves some money. I think he would have called had we made it maybe 150 to 175. About 40 minutes goes by before we pick up another playable hand. This one is ace-king offsuit. We are on the button. And we see a player from under the gun put in a $10 raise. The under the gun +1 calls $10. Folds over to the cutoff, who also calls $10, and the action is on me. I'm going to be putting in the 3-bet. I decide to raise it up to $65 here, just trying to isolate with one of these players. A little concerned. It's Texas. It's very hard to get heads up in these spots. But we finally found a price or a sizing that gets the job done. The under the gun and the under the gun +1 player both fold, and the cutoff calls. So we finally get our wish to go heads up in a 3-bet pot, and we're in position. So 2 good things happening here to get this one started. And we end up flopping top pair, top kicker on a king, queen, 7 rainbow board. The cutoff goes ahead and checks it over to me. In position here with top pair, top kicker in a 3-bet pot. I am definitely going to go fire out a continuation bet here. And I settle on a small-ish sizing. I just go 50, and he snap raises. As you can see, snap raises to 100, and I don't really know what to make of this raise. Seems like a blocker bet. Would he do this with a set or 2 pair? It doesn't make a lot of sense. So I put in the call, and we're going to go off to a turn card here. The brick, it shouldn't change anything. It's the 3 of diamonds. He checks, and I go ahead and check it back. We go to a river, which is a board pairing queen, not the card that I wanted to see. So when he checks, I just quickly check it back, and of course he turns over ace queen for rivered trips to take this one down. It's worth noting that this one put me on tilt pretty badly. I went on a little bit of a rant at the table about how badly I run in 3-bet pots. And after playing for a little while after this, I decided to just go ahead and rack up my chips and call it a night. Just wasn't in the right mindset to continue playing. I wouldn't have been playing even my C game had I stayed much longer. All right, it is Tuesday morning, the day after our session yesterday. I'm out getting a little morning exercise here. It's about 9:30 in the morning or so, and my exercise ring is closed, according to my Apple Watch. So mission accomplished. Let's see, what did I want to share with all of you fine folks? Finished up our session yesterday around 7 o'clock in the evening and didn't get a chance to record the outro. Thought I would share the results with you fine folks while I'm out on my morning walk this morning here in sunny, partly cloudy, humid Austin. Very green walking trail that I'm on here, much different than the brown surroundings of Las Vegas, Nevada. So the session yesterday did not go our way, to say the least. I think it was the biggest losing session we've had on the vlog so far to date. We were in the game for 1,500-ish and ended up cashing out for 440.
It's like a loss of around $1,000 basically, which, you know, in the overall grand scheme of things in life isn't the end of the world, but definitely not the result that one is looking for at the 1-2 streets in poker. And I think, as you saw, a couple of the hands questionable, could have played differently, specifically the pocket tens hand. But I went with my read. Sometimes your read is going to be right, sometimes it's not. Unfortunately, this time it was not. We ended up losing that pot, and yeah, didn't get the results that we were looking for there. But overall, I'm feeling pretty good about the way I've been playing. Although the results are not there, I feel like my play is still steadily improving, which is good. That's a good thing. In the poker world, you want to continue to improve. Sorry, we're walking uphill, guys. Walking uphill. A little bit of a struggle. And yeah, so overall, not a great result, but I feel like I'm still improving and getting better at the game, which is really my focus at the moment. Winning is just a benefit, perk, if you will. So that's going to do it for episode, what episode are we on? 62. And if you liked it, please do consider hitting that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss future episodes. So with that, I will see you shortly in episode 63. Take care. Good luck at the tables. Be well.